What is going on? Another day, not exactly the outcome we wanted. Overall, good football game. Heartbreaking. We've been here before Buffalo. We know this feeling. We haven't been much there this year, but we know this feeling. But remember, just breathe a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. It's one game. It's a big game, but it's one game. But I got my amigos, me host JTM, and I got my amigos with me. Fred Martin, what's going on?
Not much. Just trying to soak it all in. I guess that's all I can say, man. I'm breathing, trying to soak it in and breathe at the same time. So
Breathe. Clayton Garrett, what's going on?
I mean, my breathing's all right, but that was a good football game today. There's good and bads to get into. Obviously, it didn't go the way a lot of people would have wanted it to with that last second Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins, but there's plenty of good and bad to take away from this one on both sides of the ball. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, well, let's hop into it. The game started off. I mean, it was kind of a game we expected. We expected a back and forth jockeying contest. We expected some bad defense on both teams, but I actually thought the defense on both sides, both teams, are actually a lot better than expected. I thought this game was like 38-35 or something like that. We expected some Kyler Murray. We expected some Josh Allen. I didn't expect much running. We only got running from one side of the team, from one team, so we'll talk about that. And yeah, it was a heartbreaking loss. So, Fred, I'll come to you first. 49 passes today for Josh Allen. 49.
Yeah. I mean, I really like to seeing us run the ball a little bit more than 11 times through this game, especially this game. I mean, the only reason why I say that is because you're dealing with Arizona's high-power offense, and they like to do that up-tempo offense. So, I mean, if we could keep Kyler Murray off the field, that's a better opportunity for us to get this win. But we didn't run the ball, like you said. They ran it they passed it for 49 times. I really would have liked to see this running game going a little bit more in this game, especially.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. We definitely would like to see the running game go a little bit more. This game, I know I would have liked it. Clayton, what did you think? This is something that we spoke on multiple times last year, this year, off season, pre-off season, draft season, about running the football.
It just, I mean, I'm not even surprised anymore. I can't be. You look at how and where the Bills lost this football game on the offensive side of the ball. It really was the fact that they've been, for a large part of this season, aside from that New England game, they've been a one-dimensional football team. They've been a one-dimensional offense in that regard. And while Josh Allen is the best play-action passer in football right now, there's not much worth to that when you can't run the ball to save your life. And it's just it's weird to me. They don't try and get any kind of rhythm with the running game. They don't try and get this offensive line allow them to get their feet under them so they can they can have cohesion and have chemistry throughout this whole game. And they're not in that habit of just dropping back into pass protection. I felt like there was a lack of adjustments in the second half, but I also feel like Josh Allen didn't do his offensive coordinator or his offensive teammates today any favors. I felt like today was probably one of his worst performances that we've seen. Not to date, but in this season, that's for sure, with his 2 turnovers. But he did make the play at the end of the game when he needed to. But overall, it wasn't happening today. You needed more from that side of the ball.
Right, and you go back to making the play when he needed to. Obviously, we're not going to expect Josh Allen to come out here and throw for 415 yards and 4 touchdowns week in and week out. Okay, that's just unrealistic. Even Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady don't do that. And can you guys stop moving around? Thanks. Even Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers don't do that. But end of the day, he made the play when he needed to make the big play at the end. Obviously, with 34 seconds, it just wasn't enough. We'll call it that. And then hopefully we don't get blocked off YouTube tonight for clips. We do. Oh, well. I'm going to keep playing them. The kid has ice water veins. So, I mean, I want to take some positive things, and we're going to get into a negative thing because there's some negative things for this game. But one of the positive things is it doesn't seem to matter the situation or the timing or what's going on. Josh Allen does not break. I think the last time we saw him break, I would say you can kind of say that Texans playoff game. You could say that Patriot 4 interception game or 3 interception game was from last year, week 3 or 4. He does not break. And That's one of the positives I'm taking from this. One of the negatives I'm taking from that is Brian Dable realizes that Josh Allen does not break, and he continues to use him over and over and over again. And we threw the ball almost 50 times in a game in regulation that had no OT, that for the better part of the game we were not trailing for. There's no excuse for that.
Right.
There's no excuse for that.
No, I try not to laugh, but it's funny when you lay it out like that. You know, you threw the ball 50 times in a game that you were not trailing anything aside from when you were down 26-23 up until that final touchdown drive. It just, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not going to sit here and harp on Brian Dable completely, but to go off of your point of Josh Allen not breaking, being able to stare adversity right down the barrel, it just, you know, that death taxes and Josh Allen in fourth quarter game-winning drives, because that was a game-winning drive.
Yeah,
I mean, make no mistake about it. That was a game-winning drive right there with 34 seconds on the clock. I mean, how many times have you seen Josh Allen do that? I believe that would have been his 12th in his career. So you've seen him do it 11 other times where the other team didn't come back with another touchdown. So that was a game-winning drive, and you know, Josh Allen did what Josh Allen does. He did not look good in this game for the first three quarters. I mean, he had his spots when he did look good, but he did not look good in the second half until that final drive. But yeah, that's really what we've come to expect from Josh Allen. And I think, I agree with you that Brian Dable abuses the fact that Josh Allen does not break.
But the fact is that when you're up on a team, and we were up on this team by 2 touchdowns at one point, there's no reason why you can't run the ball. At least even get it established, start running the ball, and start taking that clock away from the other team, because you already know that how high-powered that offense is on Arizona. And the more opportunities you give this team to be on the field together, they're going to put up points against you. The fact is that I think Brian Dable missed that point and didn't realize, but guess what? You can't take your foot off the gas, but at the same time, you got to be smart, and you got to have clock management. And I think that's something that we're lacking today.
You know, we often compare the teams to the 90s Bills. I mean, we always get to that comparison, right? Anytime the team is winning, we have to go back to the 90s. Personally, I hate the comparison, but if we're going to compare, there is one good comparison I like. If you remember the no-huddle offense and how fast we used to score, and Fred has alluded to this point multiple times on this show, we don't give our defense time to rest, one. Two, at the end of games, we can't get in the rhythm. We get ourselves out of the rhythm by trying to slow down. So at some point, we have to, after this bye week, establish the run game. Kenny Riggleman put a comment up here, and he's exactly right. 11 carries by the running backs are totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And he's right. How are we supposed to get these kids in rhythm? In Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, if we're not giving them the touches, we're not giving the carries. How is the offensive line supposed to get in rhythm if they're not consistently run blocking? We're going, it seems like, almost quarters without running the football.
Yep. And you hit it right on the head just now when you said, how can you get this offensive line into a rhythm? These offensive line, these are maulers. These guys want to get out and attack. But when you got them in pass block mode, I mean, they're dropping back. They want to get into that rhythm. You got to come out and let these guys feel the game, get out there and get physical in the trenches. And how do you do that? You run the ball. And you know what? We haven't done that this year. We have a really good offensive line, but they're getting put in the position where they're going to fail. When you throw the ball 49 times, they're going to have holding. They're going to have false starts because you're not getting them into that rhythm. You have to run the ball. You have to be balanced. We're not balanced right now. We're too predictable.
I think a part of that leads into what Fred's trying to say is you're also making it very easy for the defense to know what you're probably going to do, where those pass rushers can just pin their ears back and go flying balls to the wall towards your quarterback, and just giving your offensive line a much harder job to handle. And, I see a lot of people every single week we talk about this. I feel like every single time either the Bills lose or they do lose, and we're trying to be pragmatic and critiques and optimism and what have you. I feel like every single week we see people saying, well, not running the ball isn't the issue. Stop talking about them not running the ball. This is a passing offense. No one on this screen is saying they need to run a 50-50 offense. No one on this screen is saying that they need to run the ball more than they pass it in order to win these games. I'm not saying it. I wouldn't even be mad if they were running it 35% of the time. that they just don't have any existence in the running game at any point, and they have yet to this season aside from that New England game. And yes, not running the ball is the reason why this team is losing. You can say that you can use this passing game as an extension of the running game. Absolutely. I think that is something that people don't give a lot of credit to for this offense to do, because when you see players like Cole Beasley have a game where they have 11 catches, using Cole Beasley in that way was an extension of the running game, yes. But you need to run the ball with these two young running backs in order for that defense to play honest, in order for that defense to not have the play handed to them where they know, hey, okay, they're probably just going to throw the ball here. They've been throwing the ball for 3 quarters. They haven't really gone to the running game. And when the Bills did go to the running game today, there was really nothing for them to come away with, because, that defensive line, I mean, they did have 2 backup players along the interior playing for that Cardinals defensive line today, but they did get the better end of the Bills offensive line and run defense today. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, I get it. And, you're incredibly on point when you say, we got to get these kids the ball, and I'm sorry, go back to your point of as far as running the football and using it as an extension of the passing game. Teams that use the passing game as an extension of the running game are teams who cannot run.
Right.
We don't know if we can run or not because we simply haven't even bothered trying. We haven't even attempted to try to run the ball. Each game, Josh Allen is our second leading carrier. We have 2 third-round picks in the backfield, and we're not trying. And it's getting to the point where it's getting to be a bit of an annoyance. And it's sad to see. We were mauling people last year in the running game. Between old Frank Gore and a rookie Devin Singletary, we literally were averaging, I think, like almost 4.8 yards a carry. Mm-hmm. And we just completely negate the running game. It's sad. And
another thing is that if you don't run the ball, it takes away your play action. And Josh Allen's good for that play action to take those deep shots. But if you're not running the ball, you don't have that play action to take those deep shots. You just can't, because they're all manned up or they're in the zone. They're not going to bite on a play action. I don't think we did a PA at all today.
No, because we were half the time we were lined up in a 5 wide receiver set. Yeah, I would love to go back and watch this on all 22 and see just the percentage of times that we were in spread out in 4 wide or 5 wide. I don't remember how many times we were in I form or single back or anything of that like that. And I mean, at that point, man, it's ridiculous. And like I believe Cheryl Pusio said earlier that the play calling is too predictable. And you're right. And that's why at the end of the game, you saw the same formation from the offense and the same formation from the defense for the Cardinals. Listen, we know what you're doing. Hey, you know what we're doing. We're just going to do it. Whoever wins, wins. You can't be like that.
No.
I mean, just going off that point right there, whoever wins, wins. I feel like that's kind of how this offense has been schemed a lot of times, more times than not, which is why, Jeremy, I know you've kind of peeled back on the criticism of Brian Daboll, but I've kind of, kept my foot on the gas. But with this, really, today is the embodiment of it. Today is the embodiment of every issue people have with Brian Daboll. And I said at the start of the show, for Josh Allen to not play well, I think this is probably one of his worst game this season that we've seen. But he did make the plays when he needed to make them at the end of the game. But the point being, not having an existence in the running game really hurts this offense more than anybody will ever really know. Because if the Bills had an offense with a humming running game with 2 young running backs, that they could honestly really run this offense through both of those running backs if they really wanted to. If they wanted to establish the ground attack, they wanted to establish the line of scrimmage, and then just open up their passing game entirely, that's at their disposal. That's in their arsenal. They simply just choose not to do it. And it's upsetting, it's angering, and it's not surprising by any means, considering the trend that Brian Daboll has been on since the middle part of last season.
But not only that, but if you're running the ball, you're taking clock off. So maybe Murray doesn't have that time to throw the ball. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a rush pass. So, I mean, you got to look at it like that, though, too, is that the running game is going to help you manage the clock in a game where it's a shootout, and it's going to come down to possessions. And obviously that was a game today. It came down to whoever had the ball last. And, Arizona actually had the ball last. They made the big play at the end. They counted our big play because by rights, if we were to run the ball, maybe there is no more time left on the clock, and that ends the game. But again, the running game is definitely affecting the offense.
No, I agree. It is. But at what point in this game did you think that the tide turned? Was it the 20? Was it the second Murray touchdown? Was it the interceptions? For me, I know personally it was. I think it was the first Murray touchdown run, and I said, okay, these guys are going to come back. We have to score. And when we threw another interception, I knew at that point this game was gonna flip, and we weren't gonna get the momentum back at that point. We still came back, but we weren't gonna get the win. But what did you guys think? When did this game flip for you guys? Clayton, I'll come to you first.
This at the same point that you just highlighted, when that first interception when they capped it off with the Murray read option for the touchdown the first time. I honestly, since we're in that portion of the game where we're talking about where this game changed, the tides changed with momentum, I think that now is a perfect time to highlight how incredible that defense played at the end of this game. You know, having the stops that they did. I did not expect them to be able to get the stops that they did. After the 12-yard Bajorquez punt, my goodness, I don't know what happened.
Oof.
I mean, yeah, I'll say I can sit here and put Corey Bajorquez on the burner for the entirety of the show, but to be fair, he's been one of the best punters in the league up until that kick. That was awful. But you know, the defense to get a 3 and out in that situation, that was huge. For the defense to get the stops that they did at that part of the game in order for the offense to have not just one, but numerous chances to try and get that lead. Aside from that, the game-winning drive that we were talking about earlier, they had a couple opportunities to go down the field and score. They didn't have to win the game in the way that they did, or almost did, I should say. But the defense, they did an incredible job at the end of the game. But yeah, definitely when the Bills threw an interception and Kyler Murray punched it in for that first score, that was really when the momentum started to change.
Yeah, I agree. When Peterson got his first pick, I mean, he had 2 that he dropped, and once he got that one, I mean, I knew. I was saying in my gut, all right, Josh, you're going to the well too many times. This guy's going to get a piece of one, and I think that changed it, because if you look at it, Arizona only had 9 points. They were kind of down once that pick. That defense got up, the offense got up, and I mean, the momentum was switching it fast. And I'm going to say that first pick.
No, I mean, you know, even though those interceptions hurt, and I mean, obviously, this is what's going to happen when you're throwing the ball 50 times a game in regulation. When you have a lead, 2-score lead at some point. Choosing to do that, you're going to have mistakes, and this is the Brett Favre and Josh Allen. When we're always trying to find that comparison with Allen, it's going forward, as much as we're throwing this ball, it's going to be Brett Favre-ish. And you're going to have Brett Favre type moments and Brett Favre type games. And today was literally the epitome of a Brett Favre type game. Struggle. You know, make mistakes, throw the ball around the yard, come back late, ice veins, touchdown. This is what it's going to be. And at this point, I'm just at the point where I realize we're just not going to run the football this year at all. So I'm not even banking on it. I'll just throw the running game completely out the window. It ain't happening. We're just not going to do it. I don't know if we should, you know, even pray for it. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I've totally given up all hope of having a running game this year, and not because our offensive line can't block, and not because our running backs can't run, because simply our offensive coordinator just doesn't want to. He has new toys, and he wants to play with them all the time.
Maybe in exchange for some coal, and I'll put it on my Christmas list this year, and we see if we can get it by playoffs, if we're lucky. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, this is the time of year, you know, the New England game, that was promising. That was a game that I needed to see, that the Bills offense was capable of pounding the rock like they did in that game, because, you know, come November, come December, come January, come February, these are the months that you need to be able to run the ball in situations and know when you need to be able to run the ball in those situations. That's a big part. That's probably as big of a part of it for this Bills offense as any. Forget execution. Forget who's out with the offensive line. Forget the running backs. How about when to run the ball, when to get the offensive line into a flow, when to get these running backs into a flow, whether that's as a receiver or as a runner. They need to get these guys in a flow in this game. They need to get them in a rhythm. And this is the time of year where you really hope to see that kind of facet of the offense start to be more developed, start to be more utilized, if you will, which, I mean, that holds some promise that the Bills still haven't really used their running game to the effect that they really can. I mean, there's plenty of promise to be had there. But like Jeremy said, I mean, I'm not holding my breath waiting for it anymore. I've been saying it for 10 weeks now that they need to run the ball, and I have yet to see it.
I mean, 10 weeks. I think we've been saying it even last year. We were, banking on this running game.
You probably
just
call it
based
20,
on,
Fred. 20.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying, I mean, just based on what we have now, I mean, you drafted 2 running backs in the 3rd round, and you're getting 11 carries between the 2 of them in these games. That's not enough running the ball. It really isn't. You're putting too much pressure on Josh Allen, and you're in the hopes that Josh Allen's going to throw 400 yards every game. It's not going to happen. We already know how the NFL is. It's a copycat league. Everyone's going to know how to stop the Buffalo Bills. And you put 6 DBs on the field, you drop back in coverage. I mean, Josh can't do it on his own. You got to start utilizing the weapons that we have on this team. And it starts with these 2 studs of running backs that we have.
Right. I mean, I think the biggest problem, and we have a question here from Justin. He asked, you guys are not happy pretty much with 30 points and winning time of possession. It's not about the point output, because we've said plenty of time on the show that the point output is fine. It's better than it's been in years. God knows it's been just as good as it was in 91 with the Palace of Points, if you want to call it that team. But it's at some point, and there's another comment that I love that answers his question for us. Daniel Robertson, my man from TC Pride, stand up, man. What's going on? We need a run game. If we have a playoff game at home, we have bad weather, we need to be able to run the ball.
Yep.
And that point right there is why we need to have a run game established. Because at this point, as it stands, it's still looking like we're eventually going to have a home playoff game this year, unless Miami keeps this trend. I'm not really worried about Miami as much as other people are, but it is what it is. Yeah, we need to be able to run the football. You can't go into playoff football and very few runs do you have like Nick Foles had the other year, like Pat Mahomes had. Even last year, Pat Mahomes in a couple of those games, they had to run the football to take the game over. When the pass wasn't working, you have to have a running game to win in the NFL. I'm sorry, you just have to. If you don't, you're going to be in a lot of trouble at some point.
And you know what? To touch on that, what Mr. Robertson just said, I mean, I say that we have a playoff caliber team, okay? What I'm looking for to see this running game get established is how far are we going to take this team into playoffs? That's what I want to see. And if you can't establish that running game right now, we're looking right now like we're going to be one and done again in the playoff. That's what I'm looking at. As a Bills fan, I want to see this team evolve into not just a playoff team, but a team that can take that next step into playoffs. And if you can't have a running game going into playoffs, when you know the weather's going to turn in Buffalo or Kansas City, we may have to travel to. I mean, we're going to have inclement weather. We're going to need that running game. You got to get it going now. And you have to prove that you're a true playoff team that can make a run in the playoffs this year.
I mean, you're not throwing it 50 times in Arrowhead when it's snowy,
no,
are you? I mean, you're not doing that.
Go ahead. You'll be down 35-0 real quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just not going to work out that way. I understand every game is different. All game plans are different. I mean, I didn't hear anybody ask Brian Dable about the game plan going into this game. I think he'll speak on that either tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll see. But no, I don't understand why they're so hell-bent on just throwing the ball 40, 50 times in a game when they simply don't need to. I understand when they looked towards the run game today that they found little to no success when they tried handing it off to Zach Moss or Devin Singletary. There wasn't really much to be had there, but I think that had much more to do with the schematics of the defense out-coaching the Bills' offense and out-coordinating the Bills' offense, knowing what to look for, knowing what to do, and then executing on their assignments and what have you. But the running game needs to get their gears in check. They do. And, I really don't know if you're going to see it after the bye week. I don't know if you're going to see it in the Bills' regular season. Maybe it's something that they're holding on to until the playoffs come when they really, quote-unquote, need it. But you're going to need it with these last handful of games coming up here after the bye week. You're going to have an apparent running game through this last stretch if you hope to come away and maybe even win the division. Like Jeremy said, I'm not worried about Miami as much as everyone else is. In terms of a head-to-head matchup, I understand how they can kind of squeak their way around the standings and make it look like that they're close to the Bills. But head-to-head, I don't think the Miami Dolphins stack up with the Bills at the end of the season when it's all going to come down to that. But this Bills running game, they need to get their gears in check. They need to get back on track after this bye week. And hopefully we'll see a little more of it before the playoffs come.
All right. Before we move forward, I just want to tell you guys, make sure you guys Go check out our friends over there at Discover 716 Buffalo. They're a nonprofit organization supporting local business with internship programs for college kids in the area. You can check them out at www.discover716.com. You can check them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. They actually had a lot of kids coming in this week with internships, and they provide a lot of opportunities for these kids, and we'll be working with them hand to hand going forward with some things. I actually talked to a nice intern there's Marissa this week that's gonna be writing an article on Cold Front Report for us. So make sure you go check out our friends at Discover 716 Buffalo, doing great things. They would have stopped that Hail Mary pass. But as we segment into our next segment, let's get into this Hail Mary pass. I know everybody's waiting to hear our thoughts with this Hail Mary pass and this catch by a great player in DeAndre Hopkins. So, hey, Fred, I'll come to you first. Is there someone to blame? Should they call it a different defense? Because, we're hearing everything. Trey White should knock the ball out, and Jordan Poyer should knock the ball out, and blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else that we could have done besides this dude being a great player with, size 22 hands and catching over 3 people?
You want to know my biggest problem with watching this defense today is our defensive ends. And what I saw, even on Kyler Murray's run that he has, a second touchdown run, is our defensive end came and crashed. Instead of our defensive end coming up and containing and waiting, they were crashing inside, and that was giving him all the outside. So that's the same thing that happened again. Our D end came up and crashed. We didn't contain, and he had all of the opportunity to roll out and make that pass. It comes down to execution and doing your job on defense. I think that that Hopkins is a great wide receiver, and who else would you want to have that ball in their hands at the end of the game but him? And he made a great play. Hopkins made a great play, but it comes down to execution, and I think the defensive ends in the Buffalo Bills defense today, they were not containing. They were crashing inside, and they were getting caught, and that's another play right there was an example of them getting caught, not containing.
Listen, man, Clayton, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
I just, if we're putting blame on anybody for the defense on that last play, I don't know. I don't know what to do. These guys get paid for a reason. These guys, DeAndre Hopkins is who he is for a reason. Yeah. Kyler Murray is the second most evasive quarterback in the NFL for a reason. I'm not up in arms about this defense on this last play of the game. I'm really not. You wanted to win the game. You want to talk about the defense having lack of execution in the running game and allowing 217 rushing yards throughout this game, and that being the reason that they lost and the lack of execution in that facet of the defense. Oh, yeah, let's sit down and chalk it up. I'm more than happy to do that. But this last play on a Hail Mary, from Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins being arguably one of the 2 best wide receivers in football, and Kyler Murray, who was playing at an MVP pace at the beginning of this season. DeAndre Hopkins, before that catch, he had 6 catches for 84 yards, no touchdowns. They shut DeAndre, I wouldn't say shut him down, but they made him almost a player who, in weeks past, has broken defenses, has straight up owned games, has changed the complexion of the entire game and taken over games. They held him to 6 catches and 84 yards in this football game up until a last-second Hail Mary. So I was perfectly fine with what this defense did against DeAndre Hopkins all day. I'm not mad at that play because it's DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think there's a lot of corners that are going to succeed in that position, and DeAndre Hopkins is a special football player. Not many people can make that play. DeAndre Hopkins is one of them, and he showed that. It was just simply a very special football play from 2 very special football players.
Please tell me, in this pan and zoom right here, this picture, what the hell do you want them to do? Okay, you got somebody draped on his back. You got Trey White draped in front of him. I'm going to put it up again. Jordan Poyer coming across to slap it. The dude caught the ball. What do you want them to do? If the pass is a little bit further back, it's not caught. If it's a little bit too short, it's not caught. If it's a little bit to the right or left, it's not caught. It was a perfect pass. Now, I don't usually get into analytics or the X's and O's because, quite honestly, I don't feel like it most of the time. But for the people that's telling me, oh, well, we should have played contain, I disagree. That's wrong from a coaching standpoint. Why? Because if you play contain, you just give them time to go around the pocket and throw the ball up there. So, that's out of the picture. But 2, the people that are saying you should have blitzed, that's wrong as well. The reason you don't blitz when it's 11 seconds and they're about 44 yards from the end zone, because if you blitz, you're going to leave the middle of the field or the outsides of the field open, which what happens what? A little quick dink pass, 20 yards, get out of bounds with 3 seconds left. Now you just cut the field in half for a manageable throw. So that analyzation is wrong as well. The analyzation, okay, somebody said you should have put Tremaine Edmonds in the end zone or some tall receivers in the end zone. Well, at that point with 11 seconds, you can only do that when you have about 5 or 6 seconds left and you know it's the last play. And that you still have to make a tackle if they throw it in the middle of the field. So like I said, man, it was a great play. Deal with it. It hurts. Yes, it sucks. But he's DeAndre Hopkins for a reason. Just like our Stephon Diggs made a great play before that. Because that's what they both got traded on the same day for. One actually got compensated for. The other one did not. The one pretty much got traded for nothing to go to Arizona. Okay? Big players make big time plays. And like I said, once again, I'll put the pan and zoom up again. What the hell do you want them to do? Oh, Trey White's overpaid. He should have stopped. Man, get out of here. Just stop. Just stop. You sound stupid. You sound stupid. You sound stupid. And I'm sorry to say it like that because you don't like talking to the fans like that. But stop it. You sound stupid. Right. You do. You sound very stupid.
That's why I highlighted the point that he only had 6 catches and 84 yards before that catch. That's not another day in the office for DeAndre Hopkins. That's an irregular week for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins making that play, like you said, Jeremy. It's not like this was some busted coverage. It's not like it was the David Moore touchdown catch from last week. That's not what it was. You didn't see 2 guys reeling back to their guy that they left wide open in the end zone naked. You didn't see that happening. You saw 3 guys, the 3 best guys in that secondary, draped on the best wide receiver on the last play in the game, and a talented football player came down with the ball. That's just people need to learn how to be okay with the fact that just a little bit of luck has to do with a lot in this football game. Just a little bit has a lot to do with it. And hey, sometimes that's just what happens.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're going into the bye at 7-3. So you know what? Maybe this is a play that they grow on. Maybe this is a play that wakes the defense up. You know what I mean? It was a great play by Hopkins. I mean, you can't take it away from him. He made an amazing catch. You can't take it away from him. But hopefully they can learn from this, and move on. 7-3.
There's nothing to learn. There's absolutely nothing to learn from this situation besides DeAndre Hopkins is a damn good receiver and a great receiver, and he made a play of your best 3 defenders. And people saying knock the ball down, they tried to knock the ball down. They didn't try to intercept it. And I'll put the video up again because that's completely false. They didn't. Here you go. Here's Micah Hyde. He's at the back. He's batting down. Trey White is batting down. Jordan Poyer is batting down. Trey White can't jump any higher than what he got. There it is. There's the bat. You see the little swing forward? There's the bat. So stop with that as well. Okay? Just stop it. It was a great play. Great players make great plays. That's what happens. It is what it is. We lost the game. Too bad. But moving on, moving on from this, we have to eat this going into the bye week. This was an opportunity for Buffalo to legitimately go 8-2 into the bye week and actually have what I would call a pretty favorable schedule coming on the back end of it. Because like I said, you have New England coming in again, which who knows how long have we been saying? We've never said that New England's a favorable game, but I think that's a favorable game after beating them the first time. You have Denver, a young team. You have the Chargers. That's a favorable game. You have the banged up 49er team. That should be a favorable game. So you have a favorable schedule coming up, and we would have been 8-2, but we're 7-3. It's okay. It's okay.
Yep.
Definitely one that we let slip away. But hey, so how are we feeling going into this bye week now with this team as far as the psyche, the mental, and everything else with it?
How am I feeling? I'm feeling relieved. I'm glad the bye is here. We have an opportunity to get all our players back healthy. I really think that they needed this bye right now. You think about it, going 11 weeks into the NFL without a bye. I mean, that's rough on a team, especially with all the issues that we're having right now with COVID and everything. This bye couldn't come any sooner. I think that we're going to lick our wounds, and we're going to come back. We're going to be strong. We're going to finish the season up.
I think so.
Yeah, when the season was first, or the schedule was first announced, seeing as late of a bye week as the Bills had, I was extremely excited because normally when you see the Bills bye week, it's week 6, it's week 8, somewhere just in the middle of the season where it's just like, okay, it doesn't really you go halfway through the season, you take your break, you go the rest of the way. But this season they have a late bye week, so that does, like Fred just said, it gives them opportunity to get a lot of their players healed up. And I think the bye week, it kind of gives me a feeling that, you know, they're on the uprise now. You can get your players back. You get players like Mitch Morse ready, who's going to be a month removed from a concussion when he plays again after the bye week. You have John Brown, who has now 2 injuries, one to his left knee and one to his right ankle after this game, who could definitely use a week off. You have Matt Milano, who, I mean, I believe they can bring him off injured reserve after the bye week, unless I'm mistaken. And then you can then you had the handful of guys who were on the COVID list, and you know they could potentially hope to have them all back after the bye week too. And if the Bills can get healthy, this is certainly the right time to get healthy. I mean, this isn't really a team that is missing players left and right. They're missing a lot of their depth. They're missing a lot of talent, but they're not. It's nothing that it's absolutely detrimental to this football team. You hope to get Cody Ford back. You hope to have Mitch Morse back after the bye week, and hopefully, you know, that gives you on the upswing, gives you some momentum headed into the playoffs.
No, definitely. I mean, we definitely want to have momentum going in. I mean, you don't want to go in last year. I felt by not playing the starters last week, week 17, and actually losing that game in week 16 in New England, I thought we went into the playoffs completely flat. And hopefully this year, we have a lot of people asking about how we feel about the Dolphins, and we will answer that because obviously they are on our heels, and this game put them a little bit closer to us. But yeah, I don't want this season to come down to week 17 and the bye week. I mean, and playing the Dolphins, that really would suck. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. But what I am worried about is getting this team healthy and getting them in shape and get them ready to go after the bye week. Like Clayton mentioned, getting Matt Milano back, getting Mitch Morse back, hopefully. We really don't know how long Mitch Morse is really going to be out for. We would assume that it'll be after the bye week, but we have to realize this is concussion number 5. So concussions are weird. We've seen guys be out 2 years. We saw Jordan Reed, for instance, out almost 2 years with 2 concussions, just gone for the entire year just about. So, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get him back, but you just don't know. And then when he comes back, you don't know how long we're going to have him for either until he gets another one possibly. So we have to, you have to be really careful with that. John Brown is battling out there. He was really battling his ankles hurt. You can tell he's playing through it. But this offense does not look the same when he's not on that field and when he's not healthy. So we hoping to get him back. The secondary, I mean, hell, Levi Wallace, as soon as we think we're getting these guys back healthy for a week, then the COVID strikes, and they're both out again. So, I mean, are we keeping Dane Jackson up? What are we doing with him now? He looked good. So it's about getting healthy and hopefully find a running game in the bye week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Going to your previous point that you kind of alluded to with people curious as to what our worry is with the Miami Dolphins right on the Bills' heels in the standings. I just, if you're telling me that it comes down to that Week 17 game where the Bills have to play, okay, like Jeremy just mentioned, they benched all their players last week in Week 17. I'm not necessarily upset if they have to play Week 17. Now, I understand somebody could get hurt or what have you in that game, and that could age completely wrong. But the point being is you're going to have your starters on a regular schedule in that game. They're not going to treat it like a bye week where they kind of lose some momentum mentally or physically, if you will. Hopefully they're in a position where they could get potentially a bye week in the playoffs. But as far as Miami, you look at how that team was really competitive with the Bills on their offensive side of the ball the last 2 years. It was really Ryan Fitzpatrick not giving a care in the world and slinging that football around fearlessly against this Bills defense. Slinging it, just doing it, whether they lose or whether they'd win. Obviously, I mean, they lost all those games, but I feel like that fearless play is really kind of what ignited any kind of momentum for that Miami team. And when you talk about the Bills playing a Ryan Fitzpatrick-led Miami Dolphins compared to the Bills playing a Tua Tagovailoa-led Miami Dolphins, I think you're talking about two completely different teams. I understand they're winning games with Tua in there. I understand they have an easy schedule leading up to that Bills game, but you have to take the matchup for what it is. I don't think Tua going up against the Bills defense is going to be favorable. I don't think any young quarterback going up against the Bills defense is going to be favorable. I understand that today might not be the perfect example of that as Kyler Murray tore up that Bills defense, but I don't think that'd be the case with Tua Tagovailoa.
But, I mean, you got to look at Miami Dolphins. They're playing great football on the defensive side of the ball, though, too. And they kind of remind me of the 2017 Bills. I mean, they're defensive-minded. They have a young quarterback. And, they're starting to win games right now. But how long can they keep that up? That's the thing you got to ask. How long can they keep it up? I mean, they still got some big games coming up. They still got the Raiders. They still got the Chiefs. I mean, losing to a powerhouse team like the Chiefs could send the team, free falling. So, you got to see how long they can keep it up. Right now, they're playing great football. But you know what? It's probably going to come down to that week 17 if the Bills don't figure out the running game and get this defense under control.
Well, I mean, their bye week is gone. So there was no rest for them down the stretch. So if any injuries were to occur, there's no rest in between. I mean, the Broncos is not an easy game.
No.
Now, I think that's a game that when we play Denver, we should definitely win that game. But I'm not going to say Miami's going to win that game. They got the Jets. The Jets probably going to finish 0-16, honestly. If they do win a game, I hope it's that one right there particularly. The Bengals, that's not an easy victory.
No.
That Bengals team has been very tough this year. They're young, and they found ways to lose, but they've been tough. The Chiefs, the Patriots, who are up on the Ravens right now. I mean, this may put the Patriots back in contention. And like I said, the Raiders, and then us, Week 17. That schedule's not necessarily cake. It is not cake for a team who I have to question their cohesion. They're definitely better on the defensive side of the ball. That's definitely for sure. And the offense is comparable right now. And they're finding ways to win. But as the season goes on, I want to see Tua after 3 games. Because this day was his second game, right?
Yes.
Or was this his third?
Second.
It was his second game. After your third start, teams have film on your tendencies. I'm not saying he can't be Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's still dealing. But young quarterbacks down the stretch, I want to see what you do when these grown men defensive coordinators find your tendencies. Because we saw it with Josh Allen last couple of years and what they did to him. And now he's just starting to learn. And I actually want to comment on something from Josh today too that, a positive was the pre-snap reads. There was no Mitch Morse in there today. There was no Mitch Morse to help with the pre-snap reads. Josh checked out of some plays. He slid some protections, which God knows we prayed for him to slide protections last year because he was going to get himself killed with the zero blitz by not protecting. And he made adjustments. So, I mean, hats off to him. He's right at where Bill Polian told us he would be at this point. So, shouts off to him. I mean, Fred, you got anything else up on Miami before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's a young team. Again, they're making plays. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with special teams and defense. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And it just seems like their defense is feeding off of Tua. I mean, it's like they're trying to protect him. They're trying to make plays because they know there's a young quarterback in there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it does come down to that Week 17 matchup for the division. I'm interested to see how the Bills' offense plays against that defense. I think it'd be a nice, solid test before they have to play in the playoffs. I mean, who knows? We could be talking about the Dolphins potentially matching up with the Bills in the playoffs at this rate. But like you highlighted, Jeremy, their schedule isn't necessarily as easy as everybody's kind of deferring to the thought of. But yeah, I'm excited to see what could happen potentially. But first things first, the Bills have to handle their own business. The Dolphins aren't even a concern of mine if they end up winning winning out the rest of their games or winning a majority of their games, finishing 4-2 or 5-1. That really should be the focus for this football team. So hopefully it doesn't come down to a Week 17 matchup with the Dolphins for the division.
And don't forget that game in Buffalo is in January. So welcome to Buffalo, Tua.
Yeah, I tell you what, they didn't have no 10-degree games out there in the SEC. I can assure you that.
No.
That's too close to the equator for cold weather.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if there's fans or not. That wind's gonna be whipping in Buffalo. You know that.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys are wondering about this excellent shirt I have on, this Buffalo by Nature shirt, if you're wondering where that came from, it came from Cold Socks and Dan Gambino and my guy Josh at Buff on Whack, and you can get it at www.coldsocks.com. On that part, you can put I believe it's a section where it say, how did you hear about us? Put Cold Front on there. we may get a little payment for that or something. So yeah, definitely get you one of these Buffalo by Nature shirts because that's what it's gonna be about. Last year it was Buffalo versus everybody, but now it's Buffalo by Nature. We'll beat you down with our bats. But
If we can't win, we throw the bat out.
right. We can't beat you with pull it back. That's right. Little Josh Norman, Carolina Panthers, Day Odell Beckham. But yeah, no. I mean, hopefully we no. I'm pretty confident going into the bye week. I can say if I had to pick a percentage, I'm going to put this out there. Give me a percentage of how confident you are in this team going to the bye week. We're 7-3, so you guys put that in the chat. And I'll try to get those up on the screen. I have to say I'm about 75% confident in this team going into the bye week. I would say out of 75%. I'm 50% confident we're going to win the AFC East without issue. Clayton, what do you think?
Confidence in terms of percentage, I'd probably say 85%. The concerns of this football team, obviously the run defense is concerning. Obviously the lack of existing on the offensive ground rushing attack, that's concerning. But the thing is about the problems on this Bills team, aside from them missing their one technique defensive tackle, their problems, they can solve them themselves. They really can. It's not a matter of missing guys. It's not a matter of, having all of these players hurt or, just simply not having the talent. I wouldn't say that's the case. It's a matter of execution. It's a matter of proper situational play calling. It's a matter of just making the plays that need to be made at certain points of the game. And that this is a team that has done a very good job of that 10 weeks into the season. They've made plays when they needed to, and they've done very well in adversity. I understand today. Yeah, I mean, you can't really say that today wouldn't be an example of that. That Bills offense, they went down the field, drove down the field, and had a game-winning drive like they would in any other game. When that's the situation, that's what happened. It just so happened that the defense couldn't hold on a Hail Mary, prayer. I'm not concerned about this football team at all. This loss today, it didn't concern me nearly as much as some of the other losses have. But yeah, this is certainly an opportunity going forward, going into the bye to get healthy and get a nice momentum heading into the playoffs. Like you said earlier, Jeremy, they went into the playoffs last year flat, and I think that's something that a young football team they can often make the mistake of doing, going into the playoffs flat, not really knowing what they're getting into. With one more year of experience under their belts and a lot more talent, to say the least. I think this is definitely an incredible opportunity for this team to go into the playoffs with the correct mindset in comparison to last year.
Right.
I'm going to say 90% because I'll give you one reason. Sean McDermott. I just think that, since 2017, it just seems like he gets this team prepared in the second half of the season, and then they start rolling. You think about last year, all the big games they had in Dallas, in Pittsburgh. I mean, McDermott does something to this team and gets them motivated, and it's always towards the end of the season, the second half of the season. So I'm confident that this bye is going to come in. They're going to get rested. They're going to get back into winning, and McDermott's going to get these guys motivated for the second half of the season. So I'm confident in what they're doing up there, and I'm confident in Sean McDermott. I trust the process.
I mean, at this point, are we still calling this a process? I'm past the process part.
I'm past the process too. So
I'm past the process part. Now it's either you do it or you don't. At this
no
point.
Excuses. Remember we said that. No excuses.
Yes, I'm past the process, man. The process was a couple of years ago, taking cap penalties and cap hits and trading draft picks. The process ended when we traded for Stephon Diggs. Now the process is, can we processing running the football? That's what it boils down to at this point. But no, I mean we're 7-3.
Yep.
We're a strong 7-3. Like, this was the tough part of our schedule. We would have went what? If we'd have won this game, we'd have been 3-0 versus the NFC West.
Yes.
So we still got one more game versus San Francisco. And we had a couple questions here. And actually, I like Cody Wells' comment. Ed Oliver is becoming a solid in the one tackle technique, in my opinion. I definitely agree with that. People who are saying that Ed Oliver is a failure and a boss, just go turn on the film. Don't watch the game live. Go turn on the film from all 22 and watch what Ed Oliver does, and you'll be amazed. He's still being misused the wrong way by our defense because we don't have a zero tech or a big guy to take on zero or true one tech to take on the double block, the two blockers. But go watch it and then come talk to me about Ed Oliver. Let's see. Justin says, When do you want to change? What do you want to change about the play call? And we simply cannot run the ball. What do you want to do? Run it 3 times for 5 yards and punt every drive. The play calling is not a problem. Okay, well, Justin, I disagree, and I think we all disagree with you. In order to run the ball, you have to run the ball. And in order to be able to run the ball consistently, you have to run the ball. Let me give you an analogy. Okay, parents give you the car keys. All right, you're driving the car. They can say, "Hey, Justin, go to the store." I'm gonna go to the store. Okay, mom, I'm gonna go to the store. But your mom only let you drive like 3 times. Now you're put in an awkward situation. Now you realize halfway down the road, you don't know how to drive in this situation. That's what the Bills are in right now. You gotta establish the run and get a running game going. You actually have to run a ball. It's an in-sync thing. It's a rhythm thing. It's not just, hey, it's not Madden. I'm just not picking up the controller. Like, hey, just run the ball. Give me 5 yards. It doesn't really work that way in real life. But I hear you. Clayton, you anything to add to that?
I agree with you. The running game, it's just there's a flow with the running game, and I feel like more times than not, Brian Dable feels like he's got a controller in his hands, like you just had, than he has an actual play sheet. So that's just I've beaten the dead horse so much I don't even want to talk about the guy anymore. I really don't.
Right. Well, still gonna get a head coaching job after this year.
Oh, he's still gonna. I mean, are we still on board with making him the highest paid OC ever?
Who the hell was on board with that?
I'm not. I mean, there were some people. I don't know who they were, but there's some people.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad, but hell no, not a chance. No.
No.
Have an 18-pack of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And stay in Buffalo.
But then they say the personnel was there not there to run. How this is the same person that we had last year.
The personnel is not there to top.
Probably talking about Bacher and Winters.
But it's the same person that we had last year.
No, it's even better. You think about it. I mean, here's the thing: is that listen, you can't just keep running the ball off tackle. You got to start getting creative ways to run this ball. You got to get these running backs out in space. You got to use Moss as your thumper. You just got to run the ball. Whether you have a 2-yard loss, if not, you can't just give up because you had a loss on one play. You got to continue getting your running backs into a rhythm, getting your offensive line into a rhythm. The holes will open up. Your backs will hit the holes, and they will see daylight. You just can't say, "Oh, we got a 2-yard loss. Okay, we won't run the ball for the rest of the quarter." You can't do that. You got to run the ball.
No, seriously. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's like, okay, we're going to run the ball once in the first quarter, or we're going to run it twice. Like, oh, we got to stop. That's it. Play call, done. Runs out of here. I'm done running it. That's what it is. I'm done running it. It's over. Let's throw the ball 50. You can't do that. And like once back to Daniel's point earlier, the weather's coming. Mm-hmm. It's been Buffalo has been fortunate to have played in some beautiful weather so far all year, just about.
Because we're on the West Coast.
Right. And outside of the Chiefs game, what was the other rainy game that we played?
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee. Okay, and that was a night game. But we've had some good weather. That weather's not going to stay the same. So we'll see what happens. Any final thoughts here before we take off? Blake?
Not really much regarding the game, but be sure to stay tuned for Tuesday as Jeffy Vito and I will be going live with the Overtime podcast. I believe at 8 p.m. We're going to have a little bit of a different layout this week considering it's a bye week. So we'll obviously talk about this game between the Cardinals, and we'll also talk about how we feel about the current state of the Bills and where they're at right now. Just, the typical plugs. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Coldfront Report, and on Instagram, it's at Coldfront Report _Bills News. And if this is the first time you've come across our show, be sure to like our Facebook page. And be sure to follow us on Facebook. You'll be getting the most engaging content you can find on Facebook from all these Bills pages. But yeah, it was definitely a fun show. It was a fun game to watch. The ending wasn't fun, but, hey, we're into the bye week. Hopefully they can refine themselves after the bye week.
Yeah, manifestation. Fred, final thoughts?
Yeah, make sure you continue following us on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you check out JT Show with Alexander. That's a great show. There's a lot of content in there. Alexander does a great job breaking down the games weekly. And, 7-3 is not a bad record to go into the bye. Yeah, believe it or not, this is a great record to go into the bye week. We stay healthy. We come back out fresh, whole new season. So stay positive.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you guys are definitely tuning in on Thursday nights. Lorenzo Alexander gives the best insight. Like I said, there's a lot of independent Bill shows out there. There's a lot of them now. They're all over the place. I mean, the Bills win and everybody's a podcaster. I get it. But you're not going to get much better insight than you get from Lorenzo Alexander. And I don't know if you guys watched the Saturday Night Tailgate where we had John Fina on the other night, Bill's left tackle. That was another good show. And hopefully this week we got a couple of things lined up. Hopefully we'll see what happens. I'll be in Buffalo next weekend, so let me see if I can get some things up and get some things lined up. But guys, I mean, we're 8-7. Jesus, I'm about to say 8-2. We're not. We lost by Hail Mary. We're 7-2 heading into the bye week. It's a strong 7-2. We have a very good schedule, nice schedule coming down the back end. We're not too banged up. Not too banged up where this bye week, we should come out this bye week almost completely healthy, I'm going to assume, unless we get some late injuries from this game. Josh Allen is still looking great. He's still looking like he's unbothered, ice water in his veins still. We have to fight to run the game. Stephon Diggs is as good, if not better than advertised. And this defense is starting to pick it up. Okay? They're not going to be the elite defense we were the last couple of years this season at all. We're just missing, it's just not going to happen. But they're picking it up. This defensive line is picking it up. I love what I'm seeing from Justin Zimmer. Specifically, I'm loving what I'm seeing the hustle from Justin Zimmer.
JT, before we go, a little bit of love to Tyler Bass.
Oh, yes. Cheryl.
Great game today. 54, 55, and a 58-yarder. Awesome. People are ready to hang you out, run you out of Buffalo. I'm glad you're here, kid. Great job today.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, before we go, you know what? Is there anybody on board that still want to cut Tyler Bass? Because I argue with people this for weeks. This kid has immense leg talent, and he's showing it. And this is the reason he was drafted in the 5th round. And this is the reason that Steven Hauschka is no longer in Buffalo. This kid's leg talent is phenomenal, and he banged those field goals for what, 58, 55, and 52 today?
Yarder.
He made more.
Wow.
He made more 50-plus yard field goals today than Steven Hauschka made all of last season. Think about that.
We couldn't attempt them.
Last year, Steven Hauschka attempted only 5 50-plus yard field goals. He made 1 of 5, and they've already attempted 6 this year with Tyler Bass. And that goes right to the point that we have said on this show before. It's not a matter of, the kid missing kicks left and right at the beginning of the season. He's a rookie kicker. He's going to make mistakes. There's going to be lapses in his execution. That's just a given. But the fact that now he is, finding his leg, honing in his leg strength, and he's making kicks regardless of left hash, right hash, it doesn't matter. He's making these 50-plus yard field goals. They're sending him out there, and not only is he sending him out there, they're sending him out there with confidence. And that's the kind of confidence that I like to see building in a kicker halfway through his rookie year as the team hopefully makes a strong playoff push at the end.
And it was nice when he kicked that 58-yarder. He had swagger. Dude just was like, yep, I got it.
That's who he is. T-Bass.
The longest field goal, 59 yards by Steve Christie, 93.
I think I remember that. I think I may have kicked one on. I may have kicked the 60 with Steve Christie on Tecmo Bowl back then, but I didn't really tell you how long it was. But yeah, guys, just make sure you're subscribing to us all the podcast sites. They're all in the links here. Make sure you listen to us Spotify, Instagram. Subscribe to Instagram, follow us, Twitter, Facebook, all that. That's Shamaz, if you want to call it that, as I call it, Shamaz. Brand new Cold Front Report webpage coming out this Friday. You're not going to want to miss the debut of it. It's going to be really nice, really, really nice. There was a lot of money spent on it and a lot of time spent on it. But we're gonna tap into our writing side. And if you guys out there and you're ever interested in trying to be some type of content creators, we are looking for content creators to join our team as we continue to grow and we run out of time in our daily lives to actually keep up with this stuff. 2 things. Can you please come with experience, A, if you can, and B, can you be willing to invest your time? And as far as investing your time, please be willing to actually invest into your craft. Just my 3 things, please, if you're going to do that. But hey, guys, another great show. Unfortunately, Bills lost in Hail Mary, but still strong 7-3. Enjoy your bye week. Be safe with your family. COVID numbers are rising. Stay safe. Catch you later. Peace.